in cheer, and they brought me some cheer pins today. So I'm going to shine today. And then I'm going to be bold. I'm going to be bold today. So maybe when you're special, you'll get pins too. Or maybe I'm just special and need pins. I don't know how to go about this, but I love those kids, and so happy to have you guys here. I tell you what, it's good to see some new faces and have you guys be a part of what God is doing here. I hope that you will find hope in God, and we're okay too. Hope you get connected and whatnot. But I want to. This may go pretty quick. I don't know, but just a simple truth I want to share with you today. Simple is okay, right? Yeah. Simple. And if I titled today's message, it would be "When the Enemy Sees Your Potential." When the enemy sees your potential. I'm going to reference the story of Moses. You'll open your Bible to Exodus 1. We'll start in there and kind of bounce around a little bit. The first couple of chapters there, I will reference back to. How many of you guys familiar with the story of Moses? Okay, not very many, so we're going to go through the whole book. All right. If you're like me, you always start the year off. I'm going to read the Bible all the way through, and so I'm really good at Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers. I kind of fall off, right? Anybody else? Y'all don't look at me like. Y'all know Genesis and Exodus. Man, I've got them down, right? They're the ones that I'm very familiar with. But I identify a lot with Moses. In life, I've learned a lot from Moses. I would say I could see myself as a Moses, not someone who was there to part the Red Sea, but someone more on the front end who just struggled with their identity and their calling, not being qualified enough. Yeah. Not being good enough, maybe not. It's real humbling when you're picked last. All right, when you're coming up as a kid, and we always played dodgeball or basketball. I wasn't the most athletic, but I wasn't the least athletic coming up in school, and I was probably middle of the way. But there were a few times where my ranking slipped, and I wasn't picked in the front of the line, but I was more picked towards the end. And then college hit, and I got a little better, and was picked more towards the front of the line. And then I got married, and then I started eating really well. Yeah. And over the years, I've worked hard to gain 100 pounds since I was married. I'm just saying, all right. I would like to shed that back. But anyhow.
Use the gym membership.
Yes, use my gym membership. What a novel idea, right, somebody? But I remember there was this time we were kids pastors at a church up north, and after Wednesday night class, we had a gym, and we would open it up to the local college there to come play basketball. I loved basketball. I always played basketball. In fact, when I got married, my wife was like, she would come and support me in my basketball habit, and then I realized, what do you mean I can't play ball 5 nights a week? We had Haley and Hannah and like responsibilities and stuff, and it was just foreign to me. But I love basketball, and so the college kids would come play at the gym, and I was no longer in my college years at this point in my life. I had my mind would say fake right, go left, and my body would say what? And so it was real humbling. I had this awakening that they would let me play with them, but then they let the girl guard me. My ranking had slipped a little bit. And I didn't know how do you guard a girl? I didn't know what was appropriate, not appropriate, and so anyways, but let's just say the enemy did not see my potential in my game any longer. we'll just let her guard him. I wasn't a threat. I wasn't a threat. If I ran up to the 3-point line, no one came down and put a hand in my face. They're like, we're just going to let him shoot it. It's okay. I was no longer a threat. And as Moses, as you'll find out as we read, sometimes the enemy believes in your potential more than you do.
Yeah. Sure. Good word.
One more time for the people in the back. Sometimes the enemy believes in your potential more than you do. Why is it that we are so confident in what the enemy says about us versus what God says about us? Like we doubt what God says about us, but we're like 100% locked in on it don't take much to convince us, right? God's like, who are you going to believe? Why do you so easily believe the lies of what Satan says about us?
It's true.
It's easy, right? It's that whole diving board experience I was talking about, right? That whole faith. And then understanding, too, what God says about us in His Word. We just don't believe. We don't have a confidence, and we see ourselves not as God created, on how God created us for a purpose. A lot of times we are a golden nugget that is just buried up with debris. We've got great value. There's just a lot of stuff that God is working through to get us uncovered again. Yeah? But God knows inside what we are. He made us. And God doesn't make accidents. Even you, Brud.
On purpose, Brud. On purpose.
We love you over here on the side, Brad.
We're not going to add it. You don't get a vote.
So, the statement of sometimes the enemy believes in your potential more than you do is very well reflected in the life of Moses. He's a man chosen by God, but initially blind to his own calling. I want you all to understand you have a calling on your life.
Good.
Well, what does that mean? To pastor? Maybe. To be a mom? To be a dad? You have a purpose, a calling on your life. Moses' story teaches us that even when we doubt ourselves, any self-doubters in here?
Yeah.
Even when we doubt ourselves, catch this, the enemy often recognizes the greatness within us and tries to stop it before it can even fully manifest. How is that? Has he bugged the White House? Is he privy to all the secret meetings that God's got going on? He's been around a while, right? He knows what's coming. He knows what's happening. He sees what God is going to do. And as we read in Exodus 1 here in just a moment, Pharaoh was fearful. Pharaoh's fear. The enemy recognizes Moses' potential. Before Moses even knew who he was, the enemy saw his potential. Let's read Exodus 1. There are the names of the sons of Israel. Skip down through that. Go down to verse 8. Eventually a new king came to power in Egypt who knew nothing about Joseph or what he had done. He said to his people, "Look, the people of Israel now outnumber us and are stronger than we are." That's a threat, right? We must make a plan to keep them from growing even more. If we don't, and if war breaks out, they will join our enemies and fight against us. Then they will escape from the country. So the Egyptians made the Israelites their slaves. They appointed brutal slave drivers over them, hoping to wear them down with crushing labor. They forced them to build the cities of Pithom and Ramses and as supply centers for the king. But the more the Egyptians oppressed them, the more the Israelites multiplied and spread, and the more alarmed the Egyptians became. So the Egyptians worked the people of Israel without mercy. They made their lives bitter, forcing them to mix mortar and make bricks and do all the work in the fields. They were ruthless in all their demands. Verse 15, then Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, gave this order to the Hebrew midwives. Sapphira and... What a name. Puah. Verse 16, here is the plan. When you help the Hebrew women as they give birth, watch as they deliver. If the baby is a boy, kill him. If it's a girl, let her live. But because the midwives feared God, y'all pay attention to this. Because the midwives feared God, they refused to obey the king's orders. They allowed the boys to live too. So the king of Egypt called for the midwives. Why have you done this? He demanded. Why have you allowed the boys to live? The Hebrew women are not like Egyptian women. The midwives replied. They're more vigorous, and they have their babies so quickly that we can't even get there in time. So God was good to the midwives. And the Israelites continued to multiply. I'm going to come back to that. The Israelites continued to multiply, growing more and more powerful. And because the midwives feared God, they gave their family, Because the midwives feared God, he gave them their own families. Come on, somebody.
Yeah.
Then Pharaoh gave this order to all his people. Throw every newborn Hebrew boy into the Nile River, but you may let the girls live. Isn't it interesting? As the enemy is sitting there plotting and planning to destroy, God still perseveres. He still perseveres. So, before Moses knew who he was, before Moses even knew who he was, the enemy saw his potential. Why would Pharaoh be afraid of powerless slaves? Why would he target babies who could not yet fight? The enemy often senses our power, or I should say the power of God's plan, before we do. Pharaoh saw that the Israelites were growing strong, and he feared that one day the deliverer would arise. And he was right. God had already chosen who? Moses. So Moses' survival was not by accident. Listen here. Let's go to chapter 2. Now Pharaoh had already commanded for all the boys to be killed, thrown in the river. One day Moses was tending the flock of his father. Oh, I skipped too far. There we go. Sorry. Chapter 2. About this time, a man and a woman from the tribe of Levi got married. The woman became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She saw that he was a special baby and kept him hidden for 3 months. But when she could no longer hide him, she got a basket made of papyrus reeds and waterproofed it with tar and pitch. She put the baby in the basket and laid it among the reeds along the bank of the Nile River. The baby's sister then stood at a distance watching to see what would happen to him. Soon, Pharaoh's daughter came down to bathe in the river, and her attendants walked along the riverbank. When the princess saw the basket among the reeds, she sent her maid to go get it. When the princess opened it, she saw the baby. The little boy was crying. She felt sorry for him. I mean, come on, what woman would not ooh and ah over a baby, right? You still do that. This must be one of the Hebrew children, she said. Then the baby's sister approached the princess. Should I go and find one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you, she asked. Yes, do that, the princess replied. So the girl went and called the baby's mother. Take this baby and nurse him for me. The princess told the baby's mother, I will pay you for your help. I'm going to pay you to raise him. Anyways, so the woman took her baby home and nursed him. Later, when the boy was older, his mother brought him back to Pharaoh's daughter, who adopted him as her own son. The princess named him Moses, for she explained, I lifted him out of the water.
Awesome.
This is interesting. So Moses' survival was not by accident. It was divine.
Yeah.
A divine orchestration. The very waters that should have drowned him became his passage to safety.
Yep. Sure.
The very waters that are supposed to drown you.
Oh, come on. That's good right there.
See how you did that.
See how that worked out?
Come
Yeah.
on.
The very waters that are coming over and overtaking your life, they could be the very thing that could set you free.
That's
So
true.
good. So good.
Well, Pastor Steve, why am I going through the mess I'm going through? Because God's going to use it. God's going to use it. Because it's only through the waters that he gets to the palace. It is only through your trouble that you get to your destination and your purpose. Because you've got more than your stuff to worry about. God's got to position you to where he could use you. And you got to go through some stuff first, because you've got to go to where you learn to hear God's voice. And you got to go to where you know that you have faith, where you could jump off the diving board without hesitation. God's got a plan for you.
Yes.
And he needs you to go through some training. He needs you to go through some stuff. Why? So you can learn his voice. So you can be humble. So you can be effective. The very waters that should have drowned him became his passage to safety. And he was raised inside Pharaoh's own palace. What an irony that shows how God's plan cannot be stopped.
That's right.
Are you following me?
Yes.
Amen.
Whatever the enemy has, whatever Satan has for you, just laugh at it. Say, that's cute.
Yep.
God has a plan, whether it's for the next 3 months of my life or the next 35 years.
That's right. That's
I
right.
am not in control, but I will say yes. I will say yes. Number 2, Moses' self-doubt. When you can't see what God sees. It's crazy. Everybody else sees it but you. Isn't that interesting? A lot of times everybody else sees the calling on your life before you even do.
Sure.
I just wonder sometimes if we're just I just wonder sometimes if you're too close to it, you know? Sometimes you need the hand of another to see what you can't see, because you're just surrounded in your problems.
Yeah.
You're surrounded in your inefficiencies. You're surrounded in your deficit. You're surrounded in your I can'ts and I won'ts and I'll never be's. I remember coming up, people always told me, Steve, you got a calling on your life. I was like, what? Right? That's cute. They always told me, because I always felt inadequate. I always said, it's not your availability, or it's not your ability. Yeah, it's your availability.
Good.
I was like, well, I can show up. I don't know if I show out, but I show up.
That's all that matters.
I remember in youth camp, they would always, that's just the kids upstairs, they're getting their Jesus on, it's okay. I remember in youth camp, they would always ask the students at some point in service, there'd be hundreds of us there, and they'd say, anyone, like Hannah says, she felt called in the ministry, and people would raise their hand, I felt called in the ministry, and then, they would kind of take them to another class, and I always wanted to go to that other class, but I never raised my hand. I never felt called.
Yeah.
Everyone else saw it, but I didn't see it. The enemy saw it, but I didn't see
You
it.
sure did.
It's good.
God sure saw it. I could, for the sake of time, I could go through lots of things the enemy tried to get me to believe.
That's right.
People you put in my path tell
That's
me,
right.
no, you can't, you won't, you'll never be, you shouldn't be,
You're not.
Yes.
Mhm.
you're not.
Sure.
Those people will always be there.
That's right.
Yep.
Oh, that's cute. That's not what my father said. That's not what the burning bush told me.
That's right.
That's true.
Come on, somebody. It's that whole faith thing. No matter what you're seeing, no matter what you're hearing, no matter what you're feeling, no matter what you're touching and smelling, I can't go off of what I gotta go off what my Father says
Yep.
about me. He's got a plan. So we'll go to Exodus chapter 3. So Moses is no longer in Pharaoh's palace, and in fact, he has fled the wilderness after murdering an Egyptian who was mistreating an Israelite slave. And so now he's tending sheep, far removed the greatness that he was born into. When God calls him from the burning bush and commands him to go back to Egypt to free his people. How does Moses respond to the following? Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh? Exodus 3:11. Scroll down a little bit here. But Moses protested to God. That's funny. It's like a student protesting their coach who knows what's best. Hey, I need you to do this, that, and the other. No, not going to do it. I mean, you just want to strangle a kid, right? like the kids got it all figured out, right? I mean, some of y'all raised some of them. I did too. Like, I should have called NASA because they like, y'all got to know how smart this 14-year-old kid is. He's got it all figured out.
You're talking about Hannah, right?
She's not here to defend
You get a player or a student or someone that looks at a coach who's got all the experience in the world and tells the coach, no. What?
Sure.
Oh, okay. We'll lay hands on you suddenly. We're gonna have a board meeting. I remember. Dad was I was probably 7 or so, 6 or 7, and he was sitting in the living room, and it's close to bedtime, and he was reading something, whatever, and he said, hey, go get ready for bed. And I was like, no. Sucker, what's up? And like, he didn't even flinch, he didn't even move, he just continued reading, and like it never even happened. I was like, I don't think he heard me. No! He didn't even flinch, he didn't move, and I just go on about my business. And out of nowhere, like I done thought I got away with it, right? He picked me up and readjusted my
Turn
thinking.
me around.
Picked me up, turned me around, placed my feet on solid ground. Daddy! You know, I was always in arm's reach, too, at the dinner table, say something smart. Get that, yeah, you know what you're talking about, right? I think kids need more adjustments made today.
Carry on.
All right, before I digress. All right, so where was I? Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh? But Moses protested to God, who am I to appear before Pharaoh? Who am I to lead the people of Israel out of Egypt? God answered, I will be with you. And that should be enough right there, right?
Sure. That's a good point.
He says, and this is your sign that I am the one who has sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God at this very mountain. But Moses protested again. If I go to the people of Israel and tell them the God of your ancestors has sent me, they will ask, well, what is his name? Then what should I tell them? God replied to Moses, I am who I am. Say this to the people of Israel, I am has sent me to you.
Good.
He gave him credibility. The boss has given me signing authority this week. In the boss's absence, I am in charge.
Yeah.
Say this to the people of Israel, Yahweh, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has sent me to you.
Come on.
This is my eternal name, my name to remember for all generations. Now go and call together all the elders of Israel and tell them, Yahweh, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, has appeared to me. He told me, I've been watching closely, and I see how the Egyptians are treating you. I have promised to rescue you from your oppression in Egypt. I will lead you to a land flowing with milk and honey, the land where the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivitites, and Jebusites now live. The elders of Israel accept your message, and you and the elders must go to the king and tell him, the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, has met with us. So please let us take a 3-day journey to the wilderness to offer sacrifices to the Lord. It's interesting when God calls them back. Well, what if they don't believe me? Let's go to chapter 4, verse 1. He says, what if they don't believe me? Exodus 4. But Moses protested again. You don't believe me, they don't listen to me. What if they say the Lord never appeared to you? Come on, y'all, we've all faced this. Don't mock it. We've all been in these very pivotal moments in our life. What ifs? What if I fail? What if I'm laughed upon? What if I'm rejected? No one likes that. But are you willing to be rejected and have failure in spite of your calling? It's for the mission. It's for the purpose, what he's asked us to do. The Lord asked him, well, what is that in your hand? He says, a staff, shepherd's staff. And throw it on the ground, the Lord told him. So he threw it down and it turned into a snake. Moses jumped back. Then the Lord told him to reach out and grab its tail. So Moses reached out and grabbed it, and it turned back into a shepherd's staff in his hand. Isn't that amazing? God takes, I don't know if he's going to give you a shepherd's staff and let you turn it into a snake or not, but I'm saying God is there. And he's going to help. He brings a little bit of help, a little bit of reassurance along the way. And what's interesting is that as Moses continues to protest, it continues to backpedal and walk away like, I'm not me. God is just constantly refuting. Got you. Then we'll do this. Then we'll do that. He's not giving up, right?
Sure.
So as you've probably struggled with a little bit of that, understand God's not giving up until you go forward. God is way more persistent than you are. So Moses was focused on his flaws that he couldn't see in his potential. But the enemy saw it.
Yep, sure did.
Pharaoh feared him before he even knew he was who he was. God himself was calling him to fulfill a destiny, yet Moses hesitated. How often do we do the same? What is God calling you to do right now? It's you are hesitating on.
Come on.
Just do it. I like that phrase, just do it. Is just. Justice in spite of how you feel and how you think, you do it anyways, right?
Sure.
When it doesn't always make sense, you do it anyways. Just do it. We allow self-doubt to cloud our vision, forgetting that if God calls us, he has already equipped us. Are you understanding that? You already got a staff in your hand. Moses done had it. Had everything that he needed. He just needed someone to say yes. Number 3, the power of obedience, stepping into destiny. What if you said yes? What if you took a step on that diving board? What if? Despite his fears, Moses finally obeyed. And God worked through him in ways that he could never imagine. The man who doubted his ability to speak, because see, Moses was a stutterer as you continue to read. He said, but I'm not a good speaker, so he sends his brother Aaron with him. God has already got everything figured out, right? You can keep making all the excuses you want, Ron, come on. But God has already got it figured out.
Yep.
Right.
What else you got? I got an answer for that too, God says, right?
Good.
The man who doubted his ability to speak became the mouthpiece of God. Come on, somebody. Isn't that? The man who fled in fear returned in faith to confront Pharaoh. The man who saw himself as weak became a leader who parted the Red Sea. When you're weak, when you're humble, when you're without, God is enough. In fact, that's where God needs to get you, because he doesn't want you being in the way.
Yep.
As if we had something to do with it. Moses' transformation teaches us that our doubts do not disqualify us from God's calling. Your doubts do not disqualify you from the calling on your life. Isn't that great?
Good.
A good coach will see potential in a player and do everything, work around all the excuses to raise you up to achieve your purpose, right?
Yes.
Number 4, what does this mean for us today? The enemy sees what God has placed in you. The opposition in your life is often an indicator that you're on the path of something great. You thought you would go unresisted? You thought you would go easy? Anything you've ever done, anything we ever do, Satan is trying to refute it. Satan is trying to pull you down and distract you and discourage you and tell you about you. So you just got to tell him about God. Yeah, you're right, Satan. You're right. I can't. But he can. And I'm just going to say yes.
It's good.
And humbled as he uses me. You're right, I may not be the best singer. I may not be the best guitar player, as Ashley was talking about this morning. But I keep showing up. And God does amazing things. Come on, somebody.
Sure.
I may not be the best preacher. I may not have it all together. I may look funny. I may smell weird. I don't know. But I just keep showing up and let God do the rest. I know I've been told I should never. I know I've been told that I can't and that I shouldn't. Not my problem. Someone else told me to keep showing up. Just as Pharaoh tried to kill Moses as the baby, the enemy will try to stop you before it even begins. Your self-doubt does not cancel God's calling. Moses doubted himself over and over and over and over. Tell your neighbor, and over. But God did not say, okay, you're right. I give up. He didn't change his mind. God's calling is greater than your insecurity. Hello.
Yes.
God picked you in spite of knowing you already.
That's right.
That's
right.
true. Good.
God's a flipper. Anyone ever watch Flipper Flop?
Yeah.
I've flipped a few houses. I flopped a few houses.
Yep.
But I could go in and I could see potential of, like, I know what this could be. Do a little this, do a little that, get rid over here. Voila.
Ta-da.
Ta-da. God's calling is much greater than your insecurity.
It's good.
Obedience activates your potential. Come on, somebody. Obedience activates your potential. Moses, listen, Moses only stepped into his destiny when he trusted God and moved forward.
Yeah.
Some of you just been sitting so long, you get butt sores.
All right. That's good.
If you are waiting for confidence before stepping into your calling, you may be waiting forever. Faith requires movement. Let me say it one more time. Moses only stepped into his destiny when he finally trusted God and moved forward.
Good.
If you're waiting for your confidence, before stepping into your calling, you may be waiting forever.
Yep.
Faith requires movement.
Yep.
Start climbing the ladder.
Yep.
Ashley, could you come back? Do not listen, Linda, listen. Do not let the enemy's fear of your potential outweigh your own belief in what God can do through you. If Pharaoh saw something in Moses before Moses did, and if the enemy fights against you before you recognize your own strength, maybe it's time to wake up to the greatness God has placed inside you. Step forward in faith. Your Red Sea is waiting to be parted. Stand with me right where you're at. There's somebody on the other side. There's somebody that needs to go through the Red Sea, and they're waiting on you to get up and move. There's a whole generation, there's a whole nation, there's a whole group of family, friends, whoever's in your circle that is counting on you to have it all figured out. No, it's counting on you to simply say yes. Yes. I know all the reasons you can't. I know all the reasons why you shouldn't. Can you just at least grab a hold of the first rung? Get some movement? And I promise you, as you start to climb, that confidence comes. You start to realize, I can do this. How am I doing this? I didn't think I could do this. But God. He puts us in a spot to where we can't boast about anything that we've done on our own, so that He gets all the glory. God's like, look at that. Look what I did on Miley. You see how I'm using Miley? You see how I'm doing that? See climbing the ladder? You see the difference she's making? I did that. Look at that right now. Look at that. Let me show her off a minute. Come here. Let me show off. God's like, let me show off my child. Let me show her off. This is what I've done. Come on. Look what I did in her. God's like, I did that. I did that right there. Come here. Look at this. Look at Kevin. Y'all look at Kevin. Look at what's happening to Kevin. Kevin's smile. Kevin even hugs now. Look at how God saved Kevin's life. Come on. Oh, look back here. Look at this big, tall, goofy one right here. Come here. Look at this one right here. Look at this. How can you not look at this? God is like, I did this. Look what I'm doing in this. I got a call and a purpose on this guy's life.
Let's go. Yes.
Just say yes. Quit arguing. Quit telling Jesus all the I can'ts and I won'ts. But I don't know. Of course you don't know. It ain't about you knowing. It's about you just saying yes, I'll go. Where are you going? I don't know, but I'm going to go. How am I going to get there? I don't know, but I'm going to go. Abraham left without even knowing where he was going. God said, time to move. He said, okay, let's go. Okay, turn left. Okay. Can you have that kind of ability in your life? You say, but you know what? I'm too broken. I ain't got it all figured out. Moses was a murderer for crying out loud. Can I just say? God is choosing you in spite of everything that you've done. What happens when I can't shake this stuff off? Maybe God's going to use that to shake someone else's life. Just keep climbing, keep going, keep saying yes. Who's ready to say yes? Yes. Who's ready to change the family? job site? Who's ready to change the office? Who's ready to change your pants? They always say that the only people in the church that like change are the babies in the nursery. But if you're ready for change, if you're ready just to say yes like Moses did, if you're ready, because everybody else sees your potential, and I'm looking out here and I see a lot of a potential as well. Would you join me down here and say, let's go?